Ah, can you feel it? That fresh spring air, the birds chirping, the cows mooing. Is that... oh, animal dung. Well, life on the farm isn't all that grand. Howdy there, friendo. The name is Carson, and to be honest with you, if you're not aware of who I am by this point, you might never be. But let's run it back one more time. I am the owner and sole proprietor of this here farm. We do a lot of trading and bartering around these parts, making ourselves a great big fat fortune. What do we trade and barter with, you might ask? Why, my friends, this is a farm. We trade and barter crops, cash crops, food, anything you can grow, really. Speaking of which, at the moment we have a decent little bit of cotton to go about harvesting, making ourselves quite the stockpile of cloth. As you might imagine, though, with a great big farm like this one, it takes a lot of hard work and manpower to get things done. Manpower, which we are currently lacking. That's actually our biggest limiting factor at the moment, I'd say. So, in today's episode, we are not only going to be building some residential housing for our current farm hands, as you see us doing here, but we are also going to be working on getting quite a few more by the end. And once we finally have enough people to work the farm like a well-oiled machine 24/7, I think we'll be in good standing. It'll be the nice little cherry on top. The final cog in our grand machine, I suppose. Although we are also going to be doing a lot of expanding on the farm today as well. Not only by adding in many new facilities as well as new fields with new crops, but with a little bit of knowledge. We're actually going to be doing research into drug production. Now, not to worry, it's not what you think. This is going to give us a drug lab, and a drug lab is actually where we can go about using proper measurements and sizing and proportion to roll cigars and cigarettes, which we already do, just much less efficiently. Just think of the lab as giving us a proper workshop with the tools to go about making them, getting more bang for our buck, I guess. By this point, every time we harvest tobacco, it is quality, with that being close to, I think, around excellent or master work quality. Genuinely, so we want to ensure that we're getting as much as we can out of it. Speak of the devil, I myself would go out single-handedly harvesting our field of tobacco, preparing it for this eventual research. Now then, as we are doing this research, we're actually going to begin focusing our efforts a bit out to the east of our farm. I had mentioned previously how I wanted to expand the farm around the pond in the middle of the town, which we've already done. And that is why today, as well as building a road out east for traders and travelers to once again just easily be able to come in and out of the city whenever they so choose, we are also going to be building great big fields parallel with the road a little bit to the south of it. Why out east instead of out west? Well, as you can see here, it just seems that there's a bit more land to work with out on this side, although either of them would have done fine, I suppose. Based on how much soil we're going to be working, tilling, and sowing seeds in this last episode today, this is going to be the largest expansion and new area added onto the farm yet. Before we get to that though, we did finish up the research into drug production, and we would waste absolutely no time crafting ourselves a few of these production areas, immediately beginning to roll, cut, and dry tobacco leaves here, making ourselves some fine packs of cigarettes. As we were rolling these, we were also quickly taking them to the general store, now with a secondary road making it much easier for travelers and traders to come to our humble little town slash farm. I would expect that the general store will also be getting quite a bit more business than it had before. As our farm hands are preoccupied with rolling up tobacco leaves though, Chef as well as Ethan are actually going to be heading out just outside of the farm in the area, along with some wood and other resources to go about building some proper dirt roads. Ethan, of course, is going to be functioning as our muscle to ward off highwaymen and other filthy ne'er-do-wells. As I was saying about actually starting to see more traffic coming into our humble little farming town, I think that connecting it up with the main dirt highway system is really going to be where we see a lot more folks coming our way. This will take a few days for them to complete though, so in the meantime, we and our farmhands are going to be working on these new fields that we're adding into the eastern part of the town. We would have to work rather swiftly though, as you can see with the trees and other vegetation losing their leaves. It is now fall, it's getting quite cold, and winter is just around the corner. You might not think that matters all that much, but let me tell you, if that ground freezes before we can manage to till up some actual proper growing areas, we'll never get it done. Well, not until spring finally rolls back around thawing the ground once more, but I'd rather get it done before then. After a few days though, Chef and Ethan, riding on the back of our mighty horse Duke, would finally arrive back in town. You know what that means. Our little dirt highway is finally complete, connecting us up with many of our local trading partners. Oh, I could feel the money rolling in now. By this point, though, I am afraid that we have officially entered the 1st of December, which is also the 1st of winter. So we're not going to be doing much more growing anytime soon with the cool temperatures outside. Perhaps we could shift over to something else, though. Like if we were to do research into beer brewing? Winter is cold and boring. People like to entertain themselves and warm themselves up with a nice stout beverage. Or maybe if that's not their thing, we could also start making them some coffee or tea as well. But one thing is for sure, we're going to need this research completed to do it. Something else that we plan on completing, though, as the research into beer brewing is ongoing, is this new massive field that I promised to you and that I won't shut up about, at least for not the last 5 minutes. As you can see though, this is genuinely going to be the largest field that we have ever created. We're going to be growing a lot of crops here, and thus we are going to be making a lot of money. Again, though, that's going to be spring, as it's too darn cold to grow anything at the moment. But I am glad that we got this finished before spring comes around. That way we're not wasting time tilling the soil when it comes, and we can go straight into sowing seeds. Meaning, we can grow crops faster, harvest them faster, and we can make our fortune faster. By the time that this was finished, we had also already finished up the research into beer brewing, so we have a lot of work to do there as well, which will also keep us very occupied during the cold months. Also, by this point, we finally ended up recruiting Nikrath, I believe is how you pronounce her name, into our farm-handing ranks. If you don't remember, she was one of the Impid Tribe's people who was coming to kill us last episode when we saved young Chef from his bondage. Now she is our friend. Not only a friend, but a friend with a purpose. The purpose of helping us tend to our farming needs. First things first though, she needs some much warmer clothing. Now that is much better, keeping the frostbite away. We are also going to start research into liquor brewing, which is going to give us access to new types of alcohols that we can brew and ferment, like tequila, vodka, so on and so on. Now this relates to our new friend, as she has an incredible intellectual skill and actually will be able to take over the process from Teal, freeing him up to do other manual labor tasks. One such task that he and everyone else along with myself will be working on is a proper brew house. We actually ended up building this right in the center of this gigantic field that we have recently added onto the farm. It is over top of some rough sandstone. We can't grow anything on the sandstone, obviously, so I thought this was the perfect place, especially since we are going to be growing potatoes for vodka and other different types of crops specifically for alcohol around the brew house itself. That way there's an ease of access to bring them in. We have our fermenting room, which still has a bit of room left for different types of alcohol, but we're mainly going to be brewing beer in here. We also, of course, have a small little fireplace to keep it at that perfect temperature. And then on the left side here of the building, we also have an area where we can go about creating different worts and other things that will be fermented and thus turned into alcohol. As it stands at the moment, we don't have any resources to turn anything into alcohol. However, we did find a large grove of cherry trees. Cherries could be used to create cider. Given that it's wintertime, we have nothing better to do. As we can't grow anything, we immediately went out and harvested all the cherries that we could fit into our basket. We threw together some unfermented ciders to sit in our cellars and larders to go about doing the fermenting process, obviously, which takes about 5 days. Which, in-game, is actually almost half a month. So, by the time spring rolls around, we should have plenty of cider to go about selling, or even enjoying for ourselves. With that, we also finished up the research into liquor brewing, expanding our knowledge further and further into the brewing world. Now, I don't plan on this episode being all about brewing. We're only going to be doing a few different types of alcohol, as we are mostly interested in farming, of course, but I thought that this could be a nice little addition and secondary way of us making money. Sticking with the farming theme and not really diving into anything boring and vanilla like normal beer, we are mostly going to be making some ciders as well as some gin. I think that's pretty fitting given what we do here. Most of these are going to be stored in the general store along with our cigarettes and a few other specialty products that we plan on selling to visitors, in particular those visitors who are staying in our inn. But alas, again, the winter always bores us to death. Perhaps I could show you something not so boring like, I don't know, some wonderful new artwork by our good friend Kin King, who you can find on Twitter at KinTheKingArt, if you're interested in commissioning or seeing some of their amazing works. We, of course, have a draft of our Impeduo Chef and Krath here, and this is only a draft because, well, I finished my series way too quickly, unfortunately, and I've done that with this one as well. But it does still look wonderful even as a draft before completion. And here on the right, we also have Ethan and Tana, with some really great details of their personality. I like the stoic old man kind of look and vibes of Ethan being a French veteran, and also a bit of an older one at that, and the quirky, childlike joy of Tana, even just given all the horrible things that she's been through. I also really like the details on Ethan's clothing with his uniform still underneath his old cloak. A massive thank you, Ken King, as always, not only for making these gorgeous artworks, but also for sharing them with me so I can share them with the community. Thank you so much. And now that we're finished looking at some wonderful artwork, how about we sit back and watch as the ground thaws, the snow melts, and finally, it is spring once more. Time to do some growing, baby. However, it does seem as if we may have bitten off a bit more than we could chew. Sure, we rushed to till the field so they would be ready for spring, and that way we could sow seeds very quickly, and yet during winter, we never ended up getting additional manpower or farm hands to help us out with all the new influx of crops that we're going to be growing. To put things into more simple terms, at the moment we've got too much farm and not enough hands. Although, a couple days later, that all would change, as we had a French trader wandering into town. Along with them, they had a few prisoners who they had doing forced labor. They weren't looking to sell them, though, which was an absolute shame because these prisoners seemed to already know their way around a mattock, and if you know your way around a mattock, you could learn how to hoe a field pretty quickly and easily. These would be perfect folks to help us tend to our crops, assuming they're not murderers. I suppose perhaps we could consult with this handsome Frenchman to see about procuring some laborers from this caravan instead of other items and resources. You know what they say, money talks. And boy oh boy did money talk this time around, as we ended up purchasing all 4 of these laborers for a hefty sum. But I can't stress enough just how desperate we were for some additional workers, so they were well worth any price. Now, most of these prisoners were imprisoned for simple, petty crimes. Stealing bread to feed oneself while homeless, fleeing and evading law enforcement after running an illegal smoke leaf operation. All except for one, our friend Maker here, whose crime was piracy. Yes, indeed, it would seem that he has been in French custody for quite some time, but before that, he was sailing the seas as a filthy, murderous marauder. But that was a long time ago, and apparently he has served his time. We do believe in second chances around these parts. Besides, once a pirate doesn't mean always a pirate. People change. Now, let's get to growing, folks. Oh, shit. Hey, Tana, look. He's not a pirate Oh, no. Wait. Kid, hold on here. Whoa, easy, kid. I get it. But these folks been good to us. Let's repay the favor by respecting their wishes. Phew, Okay, thanks, kid. I promise, if he even looks at you the wrong way, or anyone else for that matter, I'll gut him from groin to grin, okay? Don't you worry, he'll get his. The good Lord works in mysterious ways, and you will have your piece of flesh, little lady. Until that time comes, Maker here, along with our other new farm hands, will be sowing the seeds of our crops for the season in our new field. I apologize, I'm beating a dead horse to death in the afterlife at this point by yapping about this new field, but I really cannot begin to stress enough how important this field is going to be to us. From this point on, it's going to be our lifeblood for making money. Of course, we have our other smaller fields, but they will not generate the type of revenue that this one will. We have a plethora of new crops in this new field, as we have potatoes for our new food source, going along with the rice and other things that we've been eating. We have sugar cane, tea leaves, and wheat. All of that, of course, is going to be simply to make a profit. Although I'm sure if a need arises, we'll be using a small portion of it. The mailman also came, and we had word of a young lady going by the name of Karina who was looking for a proper lodging to rent. It's been a long time since we had any potential tenants renting out some of our fine establishments. After that little fiasco with Chef getting kidnapped by his old tribe, not too many people were interested in renting off of us for a long while, but it would seem that our terrible reputation as landlords has subsided a bit. Welcome aboard, madam. Karina here is braver than most, even without any military or law enforcement background, at least that we're aware of. She's not afraid to pull an iron when need be. Uh-oh. Well, madam, it looks like we might just need that little pepper box pistol of yours. We have a large group of impids coming from nearby, though I must say their numbers are not quite as large as we expected, nor are they all that well equipped. Seems we've done quite a number on them. The impids are planning out their attack up here in the northwestern part of our little region. I think a preemptive attack is in order. We still need to get Maker and the others some proper clothing. It's a little disheartening still having them in their prison jumpsuits, but you know, I mean, it's better than no clothing at all for the moment. Hay rotting away in storage. Good God, people. We worked hard to grow that. Yeah, I think a preemptive attack is in order. I've got everybody, I think, equipped with the matchlock muskets and other weaponry. Yes. So the reason I say that is I want it all to be firearms if I can help it. We could set up literally right here. We're going to try to move as a team. Some of us, yeah, we're already in range. Okay. It's going to be quite difficult for... Okay, we are getting some shots, though. I was going to say it's going to be quite difficult for us to hit, but some of us are hitting. I'm guessing those are our more modernized rifles. They're too busy planning their attack to even come and fight us as we blast them in the back. Hello. Shot in the spine. Yeah, the Colt revolving carbine. So, our newer rifles are doing a lot of damage. Oh my God, now this is protecting the farm. Oh, we do have one person getting a little bit brave. All right, move. Oh, no, you son of a bitch, Buster. You absolute son of a bitch. You caught Buster on fire. We're gonna have a huge forest fire here in a moment, I think. That's a shame. All right, here they come. They finally realize that sitting there like ducks as we blast at them is not the best option. Gonna move back towards... Oh, and they're fleeing. All right. All right. Since this is already over, am actually gonna start putting this fire out. It looks like Paulette, one of our newest members, is our best doctor, along with Teal, of course. I'm gonna bring them up here. We might actually be able to capture some of these impids. This one in particular is a good fighter and miner, but that's not what we need, unfortunately. We need someone who's good with animals and planting. It doesn't look like either of them are. Well, you're not incapable of hauling. That's a pretty big thing around these parts. What about you? No. Alright, well, you know what? We'll take you both. If we can manage to tend to you and to keep you alive, hopefully you don't get any infections. You did get blasted with those breech loading rifles and falling block rifles. Oh my God. Chef! Chef, shut this impid's nose off. Good lord, Chef. I realize you're probably still holding quite the grudge because they captured you and, tortured you and cut off your leg at one point, but you know what? Actually, that seems fair to me, Chef. That seems very fair to me. That's probably the least that you could do, to be honest. His old tribe mates, though, he's got a little bit of resentment for them. What about this person? Right kidney was destroyed by Dumbo. Yeah, Dumbo's always going for them organ shots. Dang, you know what? And this is something we need to deal with in a moment too, just our new members. We don't have near enough housing all of a sudden, just because of the sudden increase in the population. As horrible as it may seem, we don't really have any guests at the moment, so it should be fine. I'm going to put them in the inn to capture them. So we'll go ahead and do that. It's better than nothing until we can get something worked out a bit better. We'll go ahead and get everything hauled in. We don't have many useful things. Normally they bring more matchlock muskets. I'm guessing they're running low on resources because I noticed a lot more bow and arrows and slings this time around. But yes, actually we are going to work on some more housing. Since we have our great big field over here, and this is where a lot of our people are going to be working, I might actually go ahead and start setting up some houses over this way. We have to be quite careful because I don't want to get them to a point where they can be burned. I may have already explained this, I'm not sure because I'm recording this before I start narrating over some of the footage. The reason we have these separated with all these paths, not only is it going to be easier to walk through all these fields to collect things, but also this is a separation boundary. This will help us keep fire from spreading across all of our fields. So it's very, very important that we kind of do a similar thing here with the new housing to ensure that nobody gets, burned, or that the places don't get burned for the people who will inevitably be sleeping in them. I am going to go ahead and build a few of these larger cabins as we have been, though. Let me see. Yeah, we'll go ahead and just build about 3 of them for now. And they'll be close to the fields. That way they can get to where they'll need to be working throughout the day quite easily. And we'll go ahead and start building these up. We've got our prisoners captured. Thank you. And we'll go ahead and start recruiting them both, as I mentioned. So let's take another look at their stats here. Foyth, I believe. Really good shooting and mining. Burning passions in those. Minor passion for melee, minor passion for medical. Medical is really the only other thing that you'd probably be good at. I might have him handling, working with some of the animals, just kind of, the cows and stuff, milking them. But as for training, no, he won't be able to do that. Minor passion and shooting, absolutely horrific. Everything else, absolutely horrific. Except for cooking, because she's a gourmand. A lazy gourmand. But still, that's not, it's not that great. Decent social skill, maybe help with research, but mostly probably milking cows, shearing buffalo, and just hauling stone chunks, stuff like that. Really, all these new members will be good for. Quite alright, though, as we do believe in second chances, as, of course, we've discussed already with our new friends here, especially Maker, who used to be a pirate. We're giving them all a chance to turn their lives around. We don't execute people around here. We don't do slavery. We are good folks. And, we hope that they return the favor by joining us and starting over anew. Anyway, though, let's go ahead and build these residential housing, and I suppose we'll see what else we need to do. And so we would first and foremost connecting it up by a dirt path to the rest of the farm and to the town, and then we immediately started working on these 3 large cottage cabins that we're going to be building for the rest of our folks here. Now, as we're working on these cottages, though, we would have 2 of our new folks, Burger and Paulette, start whipping up, some proper clothing for our 4 new farmhands, but Paulette would also be whipping up something as well, a set of tools for us. Aha, there we are. Now don't you 4 look mighty dapper, really befitting farmhands? Not only that, but you'll also be able to stay much warmer in their set of clothing, as well as be much more protected in case our impids have a sudden change of heart and want to attack us again. Though with their reduced numbers and equipment, I don't see it happening. The farm is safe, our farmhands are dressed well, Now we just need some hammers to do our construction. These are the ones that Paulette made a little bit ago. Similar to the hoes that our farm hands use, though, these hammers are not just for looking the part, but they also increase construction speed by a full 20%. Truly getting the job done much faster. And indeed, they would help us get the job done much faster for those cottages that we were building. Truth be told, I probably should have prioritized other tools like this from the beginning, but we've been so focused on farming, it kinda slipped my mind. Oh well. It was also around this point that I noticed we had some Rottweiler puppies, and I was beginning to wonder how the hell did that happen? We only have one Rottweiler, with that being Buster. And then I remembered that different breeds of dogs can obviously have babies together, and it would appear the papa is Abram, our beagle. Congratulations, old boy, you're a daddy now. But such fine puppies among our folks on the farm should have some proper names, should they not? Indeed, I think they should. Our beagle pups would be named Darwin, Locke, Charles, and then our Rottweiler pups would be named Beryl and Shock. Very fitting for the times, I feel, but of course these names are not from me. They're from our friends, the guy who goes meh and Jewish Chiller 9972. Charles and Darwin obviously being from Charles Darwin, who sailed on his expedition on a ship named the Beagle. He also would have lived during this time, so I found it to be quite fitting. And I believe that Shock, Lock, and Beryl is a reference to The Nightmare Before Christmas, which is also quite fitting given this time of year and the season. So thank you both, and thank you to everyone who left names for our puppies. We also have a great name suggestion from our friend Asteria2906 for our general store. It will now hence be known as Tana's Tinctures, Treats, and Trinkets, since Tana, of course, is the operator of this facility. You also mention a possibility of her growing older and perhaps getting revenge on those filthy damned pirates who killed her parents. Now that is something that I find rather interesting. Who knows? It might even be coming sooner than you think. Perhaps a solo adventure with maybe someone like a father figure. We might even take Tana's Tinctures, Treats, and Trinkets on the road. Start up a business of our own under the same name after we get the experience. Build our own vast fortune. Hunt down pirates. Avenge our parents once and for all. Oh, a girl can dream, can't she? Anywho, though, we are going to be sending out a pretty darn large caravan full of nothing but livestock and psychoid leaves. Psychoid leaves because we haven't sold them off after harvesting them last episode, and also livestock because we have too damn many of them. Thank God Almighty for Ethan and chef's craftsmanship on this dirt road, as it makes it so much easier to go about doing trading with the nearby towns and villages. So much easier, in fact, that it's almost too easy, one might even say. There's almost absolutely no risk of an ambush anymore, since we have such a nice road taking us straight through the forest. We've set ourselves up quite nicely here. But things are about to get much better as we sell off many of our foals and calves that we've been raising for almost a year now, fetching us a very pretty penny, alongside a wagon full of psychoid leaves. For medicinal purposes, as I've mentioned before, of course. We had also made so much money, in fact, that it wasn't going to be a problem at all for us to buy a few more modern types of firearms, along with some French armor. A little bit strange, this is a British settlement, probably something left over from the recent battles a few years ago, but we'll take it. Arriving back home shortly there sometime later, and we made a vast fortune on this one trade alone. I think just over 5,000 something silver. Of course, we had many weapons and the armor as well, and my friends, we're doing incredible here. I really don't know how else to describe it. I love what we've built. We're doing massive things, and we are making that fortune that we've talked about so many times before. After enough time had passed, we had also finally recruited the 2 impids who were trying to kill us about a month or so ago. They'll need some proper attire as well, but they will also be making the perfect farm hands. Not for harvesting or anything, as we need to ensure our crops stay at top-notch quality. but they'll be able to haul in all of the wheat and sugar cane and flour and everything else that our other farmhands are harvesting, and we're just working as such a well-oiled machine at this point. As time went on, we also had more puppies. These full-stock beagle puppies, I believe, who I would end up naming Snap, Crackle, and Pop, which is a great suggestion from our friend Francisco Lopez, which are amazing names for the fiery protectors of these lands, as you so well put it, my friend. Look though, folks, we're getting a lot of puppies being born this episode. I don't want you to think they're getting a free ride. Everybody, including the animals that live on this farm, work on this farm. Here's a little bit of their training, hunting down squirrels that are running around in our sorghum patches. That's right, you dirty buck-toothed piece of shit. Not to worry, Crackle, you will heal. It'll toughen you up, little fella. We'll throw a little bit of dirt in that bite. I understand it might seem a bit cruel, them being pups and all, but we gotta train them young. These being working dogs and all, they've got a purpose, and that purpose is crucial for our farm's survival. Now then, a bit of a hard shift here to a bit of a construction project. With all of our new farmhand folk and all the hard work that they've been doing, I thought it would only be fair that we finally construct them a nice recreational hall, somewhere they can enjoy themselves, to have themselves a bit of a soiree, or at the day-to-day level, maybe just a moment or two of leisure by the fire, playing the piano or billiards together on a break, a nice place to unwind, even if it's brief. I'm sure I don't have to tell you, seeing how you've almost definitely been here with me throughout this entire series, but they have definitely earned it. And not to worry, to ensure that they're enjoying themselves quite a bit, we're also going to be putting some of our fine gin and cider inside the wine cellar of this new area for those weary fall and winter nights when the heat of the fire just isn't quite warm enough. And with that, truly, my friends, I think I have to say, we have set out to build a farming industry to serve our society, to feed those in need of feeding. Ours is a crucial role, one that not all will take on due to its hurdles, but we did all the same. Truly, I think we have built a massive farm that makes us a vast fortune, which is really all we originally set out to do, is it not? But you know what? In the process of building this farm to make money and to feed local peoples, we also did a lot of good along the way. We gave homes to those who were in need of lodgings. We acted as a sanctuary for weary travelers and vagabonds alike. We gave purpose to those who others no longer saw fit to sweep their floors and stables, when all they really needed was a second chance at life. All the families that we've fed and continue to feed, all the good deeds that we've done, and I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you for watching. Merry Christmas. Happy Holidays. Once a pirate, always a pirate. Good riddance.